A steady frost creeps across the window. Heavy snowfall hides shelter behind a thick wall of white. A man attempts to start a fire, his hands trembling, but his hopes are blown away with the frigid wind. This is cryophobia. Welcome to the Phobia Cast. Hi, I'm Ben, and today we'll be talking about the fear of the cold, cryophobia. If you don't know, cryophobia is the fear of the cold. Anything from the actual snow or wind to the freezing of the limbs can be the trigger for this phobia. Some would say this phobia is much more rational than it seems. The rational fear of the cold is very different from the rightful paranoia some people who live in colder areas feel. Christopher Knight is a man who spent 27 years in the area around Maine, Belgrade's lakes, which is an area whose temperature can regularly dip below -40 Celsius. He described the cold as his common and most deadly enemy. However, realistically, in our modern world, the real cold is like a scary dog barking behind a fence. It's a threat we pay no mind to at all, because as soon as the cold really starts to take place, shelter can't be far away. Without our modern conveniences, the cold becomes something much more real. The cold can even be isolating. A forest in the spring is filled with bird-songing creatures moving across the forest floor. But in the winter, the birds have moved on, and all the creatures that stay for the winter are much more calculating and quiet than their summer counterparts. It can be completely silent in the forest, something I've experienced and certainly found eerie. But when it truly becomes terrifying is when there's no promise of shelter. Being afraid of the cold is a reasonable response to its cruel and uncaring nature. When shelter is not within arm's reach, the cold becomes a death sentence, which raises the question if cryophobia can truly be considered a phobia or an unreasonable fear. Maybe they can just recognize how close they are to an inescapable fate. On our next episode, we'll be discussing the opposite side of this thermal spectrum, thermophobia, the fear of heat.